Hello everyone, this is Nursky coming to you guys with another absolutely amazing game that I just picked up literally today, literally was posted within the last couple of hours. This game is going to be absolutely amazing. First off, spawning here as the Red Terran, we are going to have Maker. And his opponent for this game, a Battle.net ladder game, is going to be none other than Team Evil Geniuses, Idra. This is going to be on the map Backwater Gulch. This is one of the ladder maps that was recently added in the last slew of ladder map changes that Blizzard did. Obviously, Blizzard has another round of map changes coming along, but we will have to see how those pan out. But for now, a lot of the players have just been getting used to these new sets of maps, feeling them out, deciding which maps they want to downvote, which maps they want to play on, and apparently this was one of the maps that Idra and Maker both felt that they could have some pretty good games on, so it should be very interesting. We do have the Terran of Maker spawning in what I would consider the closest possible ground positions, and I say that because as we leave the base of Maker really quick here, and you go down this main ramp here, and then over across, you go straight up the ramp of Idra, and straight into his base. Whereas in any of the other positions, the ramps don't exactly line up. You could say that maybe the top and bottom positions are a little bit closer, but for the most part, definitely very close ground distances here. So that could play an effect in this game. We'll have to wait and see what ends up actually happening. You do see Idra now is going to be going for that very, very typical hatch-first, macro-oriented style, putting his hatch down on 15. Maker, in the meantime, just getting up his first barracks. Not really too much going on just yet. Is important to note, though, that as his barracks is completing, he's getting ready to put up his orbital command. He has not taken any gas, so definitely expecting either a 1 racks into expand type of play or some kind of 2 racks play. Now, based on the wall off that I'm seeing here, I would definitely expect him to go command center first, with the way he's actually positioning his opening here. So I would expect to see him save up 400 minerals and have a very, very fast command center go down at any time. Definitely with this wall off, it's going to make scouting very difficult for Idra. He is going to get an Overlord, however, potentially into the base of Maker here, which would be absolutely huge. You would get a good idea of what Maker might be up to. Does see the command center is going to back up before his Overlord actually gets spotted, because those Marines are very quick to pick those off. A couple of Marines already set up here, and there indeed, there goes the fast command center by Maker. Now you'll see the gas go down, double gas at that. He'll catch up on his gas now, start teching up. Meanwhile, back over here at Camp Idra, nothing too special going on. Did take his gas, that is important to note. A lot of Zerg players tend to take pretty fast gas in the early stages of the game. Just because against Terran, not having speedlings can be somewhat problematic against a lot of barracks-heavy type of openings. So you want to get that gas fast, and if the Terran does tech, being able to have that gas to go to a faster layer is very good as well. So you're just going to be sending these couple of scouting lings forward, going to see if you can try and figure out what exactly Maker is up to, get a read off the front of his base. Maker, meanwhile, hasn't even seen Idra's base yet, still just scouting around the map. Unluckily for him, got the wrong 2 positions first. So Idra knows exactly where Maker is, going to be checking out everything that's going on in his base very momentarily, I would assume. And there he does go up, going to check for an expansion, sees nothing. And see what he can see at the front of the base. You'll see those couple of Marines just back out. Maker, meanwhile, going to be just finally getting into the base of Idra. He'll get a pretty full scout of everything Idra's up to. Idra trying to actually block the SCV with a couple of his queens. Doesn't want to let Maker know what he is doing, and is successful at destroying the SCV, so that SCV is going to go down. Maker's going to get absolutely no information about the main of Idra. He'll obviously know Idra's expanded, but that's pretty typical of Zerg. Spine crawler up to defend against any kind of Marine shenanigans that could be going down. There's a couple of Marines now pushing out, going to pick off 1 ling. Going to try and pick off a next ling. Question is, did Idra actually see the expand? I do not believe he actually saw the expansion command center, saw the Marines, decided to think better of it with that scouting ling, just backs up for now. Probably will check out and see if he can see anything else in Maker's base in the near future. So Idra, very wisely, is just going to be going straight to his lair. Do see that he did get the metabolic boost right away, of course. But then going straight into the lair. Baneling nest on the way, about halfway, a little bit sooner than that, through the lair. So very good, solid timings by Idra. If you look at the income tab right now, you just see Idra's macro. 36 harvesters to the 27 of Maker already. Even with the fast expand by Maker, Idra just being the macro beast that he typically is, staying way ahead of Maker. Maker getting up a bunker right at the front there. Wants to be safe here from any kind of ling pressure or anything like that. Those bunkers definitely do a lot to discourage any kind of ling run-by attempts or anything like that, because they will take a lot of damage. A couple lings are going to try and stop this SCV, and they do get the SCV. They managed to take it out pretty easily. Going to be running back forwards, once again denying information from Maker. Very good anti-information tactics by Idra there, knocking out all of those SCVs. They're trying to get in to scout his base. Now Idra's going to get to do a little bit of a poke forward, see if he can see any of the forces of Maker. He does obviously see the bunker, even sees the expansion, knows exactly what Maker is up to at this point in time. Not playing too in the dark at all. And then Idra, very interestingly, is going to be taking an expansion down to the furthest possible base from his opponent. Would expect to have Mutalisk on the way in the not too distant future for Idra. He does prefer those Mutalisk heavy type of styles. But interestingly enough, Spire not quite done yet. You do see him hiding it a little bit. Doesn't want Maker to be able to very easily scan it. Wants to keep Maker in the dark as much as possible. Spire nearly about halfway done. Baneling speed even on the way. Looks like Maker's going to be knocking down these rocks, which is kind of an interesting choice, because obviously Maker can expand down here to this base for a third. But you typically would see Terran actually expand more towards their opponent, especially when it's a Zerg opponent. Just from the simple fact that, you know, you put a planetary or something like that down there, it's fairly easy to fend your natural from these high ground cliffs and that expansion. Now, on the flip side, if he is going to be going for an orbital command or something, I would say there might be some merit in taking that expansion away from your opponent if you want to go for an orbital instead of a going for a planetary. So that might be the reason he's clearing out those rocks, or maybe he just wants an additional path out of his base. We will find out soon enough, though. Idra does have those first initial Mutalisks on the way, even getting the +1 air upgrades. Baneling speed nearly finished, spreading his creep very well, getting those couple of spine crawlers he made forward. Undoubtedly, the air harass of Idra is going to get started right now that he is famous for that air macro, doing that Ling Baneling style. Pretty much any ZVT, you can almost expect it out of Idra. Doesn't tend to variate from it too often, as it has been pretty solid for him. Has a very good win rate against Terran. When he's poking forward, trying to knock out a couple of these supply depots. Maker's going to need to get a couple of forces over here if he doesn't want to start losing a ton of supply depots. One supply depot already going down. Second supply depot well on the way, is on fire, but Maker's going to be able to repair that. Very smart move by Maker there. Doesn't stim the Marines and waste a bunch of health on them. Doesn't even have any medevacs really to speak of. Just one. Doesn't want to wear all the energy out by stimming all those Marines forward. Going to get up 2 missile turrets at the edge. Does not want Idra to continue harassing that area. Idra just backing up for now. Picking up a few more Mutalisks. Undoubtedly will continue to try and put on the pressure with these Mutas. As such that Idra does. But Idra's got to be careful because we do have Maker moving out now. It does have a Thor, so these Mutas are going to have to be very careful. Going to need to magic box those Mutas. One of those techniques that pretty much every Zerg player in the world knows about at this point in time. So now we do have Maker sieging up at the edge of the creep with these spine crawlers. Going to easily mow these spine crawlers down. Should be no problem whatsoever. Might even pick off a couple of these overlords, which could actually be huge and supply block Idra. And does manage to supply block Idra. One overlord is going to manage to get away. Now Maker moving forward, clearing out that creep as he goes. Doesn't want to let Idra get any kind of an advantage. Couple of Banelings sitting off to the edge. Idra actually with a surprisingly small amount of lings at this point in the game. Could run into some trouble here because he has real no way to attack these Marines. Idra moving forward, gets a bunch of the Marines, but misses a bunch of them as well. Does manage to take out the Thor. Now Idra actually trying to use those Mutas to defend against these Marines, but Mutas are absolutely terrible against Marines, and Idra could be in some major trouble here. Those Marines might clean up the Mutas, and it looks like the Mutas might actually just barely clean up the Marines. That means Maker's going to have to get some reinforcing Marines here pretty soon, or he could lose all of these siege tanks. That'd be absolutely huge at this point in the game. Idra can take out these siege tanks before any more Marines get here. He can then use his Lings and Banelings to clean up the Marines. And the last siege tank does go down. Now just a handful of Marines for Maker here. Idra trying to morph in some more Banelings. Does have a couple ready already. So he is going to try and go straight into the Marines. Picks off all the Marines, and now he's going after the medevac. Medevac extremely low. Medevac goes down, and Idra has miraculously held with these 4 hero Mutalisks. Getting a bunch of kills. Cleaning up that handful of Marines that was left. Absolutely perfect play by Idra there. Just barely holding that by the skin of his teeth. If you look at the income tab right now, Idra actually behind a little bit in Harvesters, 54 to the 63 at Maker, having to power a little more off of that 2-base look. Doesn't really quite have full saturation on this third. Fourth is going up as well. Idra's now going to be moving forward, trying to harass this expansion of Maker. Doesn't manage to pick off an SCV, but then is going to have to run away. A couple of Marines and a Medevac over there at the front of the base, helping to fend off these mutas. Mutas being extremely annoying though. Not going to let that turret go up, but Maker does have another SCV there. Will finish off that turret. So now he will have that turret to help defend his base. But Idra, meanwhile, getting a couple more mutas back up. Needs to get some of those additional bases online. If we look at the income tab again, it is now finally 67 Harvesters, 65. Idra back in the lead in Harvester count. Now mining nearly off of 4 base gas. That'll be absolutely huge to get his muta numbers up, as well as sustaining more than enough banelings to deal with any of the Marines that Maker could be constructing. Meanwhile, back in Maker's base, he does have a pretty decent defense, but Idra finding a little tiny crack and is going to try and exploit it. That Tech Lab in danger of going down. It's going to need to be repaired soon if he doesn't want to lose it. Those Mutilis taking fairly minimal damage. So Idra right now nearly on 4 bases, does manage to repair that Tech Lab. Thor doing a good job of thwarting off those mutas. Maker, interestingly enough, not expanding towards his opponent and building a planetary fortress, so kind of an interesting choice by Maker to have that rather somewhat immobile army, but still actually go for the somewhat spread out expansion. We'll see if that actually ends up hurting him as this game moves forward. So now here comes Idra. He's going to be attacking into these missile turrets. Just wants to take the turrets down and then do some damage to the actual SCV lines. Just jutting back and forth, picking off a couple of SCVs. Here comes those Marines. Now Marines were forced to stim. Did not actually even get any mutas, so a little bit of a forced stim there. We'll pick off that one Ling. A couple of Lings moving forward now, though. I was thinking maybe Idra was going to try and attack over there, but I'm not sure that would have been the wisest decisions. Now we do have Maker with 3 Thors and just a couple of tanks, so backing off on the tank count a little bit in the favor of Thors. Wants to be able to deal with those mutas more effectively. Look at all the mutas of Idra, though, just running around the map. Bunch of banelings getting morphed in. Tons of banelings at that. Bunch of banelings over here at the side. Idra could get a possibly good flank here if he can set up properly. Those mutas just hanging out looking for anything they can potentially pick off. Thor's hanging out over here on the creep now. Those banelings are in danger of getting killed. Here comes banelings rolling in from the back, though. Doesn't want those Marines to have anywhere they can run to. Getting a pretty good surround on the Marines, killing a good majority of the Marines, but not getting all the Marines. But Idra does get all of those Thors, and the mutas are going to clean house once again, taking absolutely everything out. And now Idra's muta count is not the highest, but is substantial enough that he's definitely going to be able to try and counter in and do some damage to Maker here. Maker just with a handful of Marines, some tanks at the front of his base. There goes Idra right back into that point that he knows is a little bit weak in Maker's defenses. He's going to pick off that Tech Lab. Now probably going to pick off this missile turret and try and do some damage to the actual production structures of Maker. Maker, this is not the position you really want to be in. Does manage to get rid of those mutas, but now Idra is going to be going up to his 5th base. Going to be getting the gas in that base right away. Does have some pretty good saturation. If we look at the income tab, 79 to the 72 Harvesters of Maker. So Idra doing very well right now, even switching now over to some Infestor tech. Does have the pathogen glands for those infestors, so they will spawn with enough health for fungal growth, enough energy, I should say. Idra's muta count, though, pretty healthy. Right around about 20 mutas. A couple of them a little bit low. Undoubtedly, will probably be adding that muta count maybe a little bit. But here comes a big push by Maker now through the middle of the map. He's just switching back over to now mostly tank composition, but a big fungal growth going down, taking down the health of a lot of those Marines. That's going to drain a ton of energy out of these medevacs in order to heal them back up. Maker is now spreading out. Looks like he's going to try and actually contain the front of Idra's base. Maybe make a slow push forward with his tanks. Maybe thinking that those earlier pushes, he might have tried to push in just a little bit too fast. The question is, will this actually work out for him? You're just going to have to be very careful. If he does clump up those mutas, there is a Thor with those Marines, and they could get off a very vital shot and do a lot of damage to these mutalisks here. So Idra's got to be extremely careful about how he engages this. Those mutas running in, poking, taking out one of the bunkers almost instantly. All the Marines being forced to stim again. You see these medevacs getting extremely low on energy now, having to heal up these Marines quite a bit. Ton of mutalisks now for Idra. Bunch of infestors out as well. Bunch of Lings, bunch of banelings. So Idra is definitely in a healthy position to try and hold this 200 army. Terran is nearly max as well. Just trying to slowly crawl those siege tanks and Marines forward, trying to keep a good spread on them so we can get a very good engagement here with Idra. See if he can force the Zerg player into his siege tanks rather than having to unsiege a bunch of his tanks and getting taken out of position. So Idra is now getting ready to potentially attack into this. Greater Spire is on the way, but no Broodlord tech just yet, so Idra is going to have to survive this with just what he has. Now it's going to be moving forward here with a bunch of the Mutas, and they are going to almost get hit by the Thor. They actually do get hit by the Thor. Muta's taking a ton of damage. Now here comes Idra moving forward, takes over 3 of the lead siege tanks, takes over 2 of the lead Thors. Oh my god, 4 siege tanks now taken over by the forces of Idra, absolutely mopping up all the Marines. Those Mutas are going to have to do their best to try and take out these Thors before he loses control of them. Does end up losing control of them all now. Now Idra is going to have to try and reinforce before these siege tanks can do any more damage to him. Idra 62 Lings getting morphed in, but right now Maker with a huge supply advantage. Idra did waste all his supply in that attack. Didn't get a lot of damage done, but now here comes the Lings getting a lot of damage done on these siege tanks, taking out a bunch of these siege tanks, but here comes the reinforcing Marines of Maker, and Idra could be in some real trouble here. 5 Infestors on the way. Look at these Lings just streaming in just a few at a time, but here comes a bunch of Banelings getting morphed. Needs to be able to get some good Marine shots there. Needs to be careful, though, because he could lose these Overlords. If he loses these Overlords, it could actually supply block him and prevent him from actually being able to max back out. Maker with a little bit of BM asking what is up, Greg. Spelling his name wrong in the process just a wee bit there. So now we do have these Banelings morphed in, a couple of Infestors. Idra trying to rally all his stuff away from the bases that are under attack. Is trying to shoo off these Marines, even sacrificing a whole bunch of them. And Idra has left the game, and Maker has come up victorious. Wow, what an absolutely amazing game. It looked like Idra might have had it for a second, but couldn't quite get the Broodlord tech up in time. Maker pushing in just before the Broodlord tech kicked in. Idra being forced to attack into him, and Maker taking the game. This is going to be Nursky signing off for now, guys. Please subscribe to my YouTube, and I will see you guys at the next cast.